Be sure to subscribe and like our channel.
Welcome. We're starting a little bit late because technology. So you know how the Queen City Curio / Deeper Down Rabbit Hole podcast goes. Things happen with technology. Take a shot. That's how we're starting off the Saturday. So there you go for everyone watching. And with that, Andrieh won't be able to attend this show just because he has some obligations he has to attend. However, with things coming up, we are going into the Goetia. So it's not quite there yet. And we are rolling into an end cap season where we're going to take a little bit of a break. We got maybe one more episode. That is to be confirmed, but that's what we're waiting for. But this is where we are getting on the end cap of the season. So with that, just know that we are going to be queuing up other shows in the future, but there is going to be a little bit of a break coming up. So where are we at? We're at 607 Gerrard Street East, Toronto, Ontario, 4th floor, 41402. And we'll be building up our temple space again because things happen. Landlord made us clear out the temple in the hall. We're getting that room so you guys can come on in, do your prayers, do whatever you need to. We don't care, right? Supporting the community through spiritual practices. So that's for public accessibility pieces. And if you want to come on in, we have our library here. You can see some of the books behind us. But with that, literally all 4 walls, thousands of books. Come on in when we're not running treatments and you can read a book anytime. Lots of authors have donated to us about their books. And with that, we're very grateful and generous. They're so generous and we're very grateful for all the books that they've been giving to us and the community so they can read it. But if you keep it too long, we're telling you to buy the book from the author directly and we'll hook you up. So in terms of workshops, tomorrow we have one of my favorite systems. We get into shamanic feng shui, where I get to talk about a few family secrets for our attendees because, well, my family does a lot of feng shui, or did. So I'll be revealing the code, or at least giving you an introduction to the codes for that. And then we get into the straight Goetia, semaphore-ish, Kabbalistic, for both people. We're focused on Goetia, and that will be focused on the Saturday at 6 p.m. We'll send an email to sponsors for that. And if you're in Toronto, you're not allowed to attend unless you're wearing black robes because we're doing it properly. So that's what the updates are for the studio and store here. So with me today, we have Kooch Daniels, who has studied with Harish Johari for 20 years and is also a student of I'm going to do my best not to butcher this, Amritana Damayi, and she is a co-author with Victor Daniels, PhD of the Tarot d'Amour, and lives in Bodega, California. Welcome to the show, Kooch.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I'm sorry for your being technologically late.
No, it's fine. They take shots. It's all good. It's Saturday. That's how you kick it off, right? So today we're going to talk about your awesome co-authored book, Awakening with the Chakras, the 7 energy centers in your daily life. So what inspired you to co-author this book? Because, I mean, chakras, there's a lot to cover.
Oh, probably the main source of inspiration was the 3 of us. There were 3 authors, actually, and we all had the same most amazing genius, Rishi Sadhu. We called him Dada, but he was an amazing man who circled around the globe yearly. And I was lucky enough to be one of his students when he came to Northern California. And I studied with him for 18 years. And my partner was the one who introduced me to him. So kudos to Victor, who is the actual lead author of the book. And then Peter Velterveed, who's actually, his paintings are behind me. You might be able to see, that's one of a temple in India. And the other one is of Ganesh, that's on the other side of me. He was doing all of the paintings for our illustrations for the book. And then we'd have to ask him we didn't know the symbols that he was using. And we were like, what's this? And can you tell us more? And pretty soon we just realized, instead of trying to mimic his words or paraphrase his words, that it would just be really nice if he would come on board and do writing with us, which is what happened. So we have the most incredible, beautiful art in the center of the book, which there's many of Peter Vilterveder's paintings, and they're all color. And let's see, he does a lot of geometric mandalas or yantras.
Yep, we can definitely see that.
Doing a good job of showing them. But here's one of our guru's guru. So he followed a lineage that was thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, and we were lucky enough to tap into his incredible wisdom. That I would tell people, it's not like you're studying with one person. When you're studying with a master that is, it's like his mind is ubiquitous. It's everywhere all at one time. It's kind of like studying with three masters at one time. And he was our inspiration for connecting and meeting one another, because Peter lives in Holland and we had never met him, but Harish brought us together and said we needed to work together. And 20 years later, I'm like, how did Harish know that we were supposed to be connected and work together? It's kind of just a little miracle, but he knew, and he left his body, but he knew we were supposed to be working together and connected us way before we ever knew. And that man who created, and this was one of the inspirations, it's called The Game of Leela, and it's published by Inner Traditions, and it has a beautiful game board, and it goes back into the Himalaya mountains, but this was his rendition of the Leela board, and it actually has horizontal lines going with almost like chutes and ladders. Actually, chutes and ladders came from this idea, but instead of chutes and ladders, it's snakes and arrows. Right. But for people who are in chakras, each one of these horizontal lines on the game board represents a different chakra. And we would sit around playing this game with Harish Johari. And so it all started, the inspiration started with an incredible man who deserves a lot of credit for bringing a wealth of information about the chakras to the West. And many, many people have paraphrased him and used his ideas. And it's like, where do these ideas come from that people are knowing and authorities on? And actually, a lot of them came from our teacher. So he had a great influence. And he certainly was one of my biggest soul influences.
So now I'm curious, with said game and playing with it, did it serve closer to a divination piece where you were using that to diagnose chakras?
Actually, it's not divination at all. It's a game of moving from your animal nature, which is the lowest chakra, is our base instincts and survival instincts, and connecting with what is a self, what am I doing here on this planet, and it's connected with the earth element. So it's our grounding into ourself and grounding to the planet earth, connecting with who we are as a person before we go up to the other chakras. It was like, who am I, before I start working on other chakras to figure out more complex relationships and different purposes. But the first chakra is all about who am I, and it really keys into the animal survival instincts of the that part of the brain, the animal nature. But so it starts at the first chakra, is this lower line, and it has different by the way, you can get this in Inner Traditions if they still have it. It's really a collectible for people who are into trying to learn about higher consciousness, because he takes you from the lowest instincts all the way up to cosmic consciousness. So the game is going from base instincts, moving through relationships, power struggles, the third chakra, you're opening your heart, compassion, fourth chakra, and it goes all the way up until you go through the crown chakra. So this is a game of actual moving through the chakras to move from ignorance and illusion Maya, the game of Maya, which is a universal game of like, we're all in this big illusion of what's really here instead of seeing the truth behind the illusion. But this game takes you to the truth and to cosmic consciousness. So I have a lot of divination games that I played, but this is about chakras, and this game and the book has his book that goes with it, which of course I've put somewhere else since I wanted to show it to you. The Game of Leela book that accompanies this board has probably some of the most profound practical ways of connecting with chakras of any book that's out there. And he doesn't even mention, when he's talking about this game, it's a game of enlightenment, that it's all about chakras and going up the ladder of consciousness from your lower nature to your highest. He doesn't even mention it. And then you start reading the book and it's like, this chakras, this horizontal vertical space is all about this chakra, or, so nobody would know that it's a masterpiece on working inwardly and figuring out what's really going on inside you. But it doesn't do divination.
Right. So talking on
highly recommend you get it.
Talking about the chakras, this is where, can you give our listeners kind of like a succinct summary of what they are? I mean, I know it's very popular in the culture, but everyone has a slightly different interpretation of how they roll or how you can work with them.
That's true. Everybody's coming from a different perspective pretty much. But the tantric philosophy behind the chakras, and they definitely come from the Himalayan caves and the sages. They didn't start in the West. And the tantra that it comes from is the tantra of discipline and performing austerities to attain enlightenment, because the tantra is a left hand and a right hand. And one is playing in the sensual field of desires and tapping into trying to become desireless, but you can't become desireless as long as you are trying to be desireless, because that's a desire. So you have to work through desirelessness. And so Tantra is a philosophy of how to evolve and get rid of the ego and become enlightened. And let's see, where am I going with this? I'm going crazy. So actually, these games are about how not to go too crazy. But tell me your question again, because I've been running around so fast, I forgot what you just said.
So give us kind of a summary of the chakras.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to tell about the chakras, and I got lost in Tantra. So they started with sages and rishis thousands and thousands of years ago, the philosophy that there are these different centers alongside the spine. They're not physical, they're vibrational or etheric. And there's 7 of them starting at the base of the spine that has the kundalini in it, coiled snake, that when you start feeling spiritual energy going up your spine, that means you're becoming more aligned with light and spiritual energy. That's the kundalini energy. And there's the 7 chakras. Start with
All right, seems currently that we have some receptivity issues on the internet. So that she'll be back. I'm sure I'll cue you back on right away. So. Yep. So she'll be right back on. It's just connectivity issues, everyone. So we'll get back that answer as soon as she gets back in. Meantime, with chakra work, a little summary from what I was hearing from her was there's 7 chakras. Generally, they can work on different aspects of things, where you could come from basically I wouldn't say a Maslow's hierarchy viewpoint, but it's definitely a hierarchy of needs of what would be base natures to more spiritual natures, and really that is where she ended off on. So we'll just hang out and chill till she comes back on. But if anyone's got any live questions, totally willing to answer if there's any. All right, so people watching are being silent, I see. Meantime, yes, I mean, we do actually have a whole chakra series that we did where we did actually get into the Vedic associations with it, which are the traditional Hindu viewpoints. We also have the more Western correspondences we worked with in the chakras too. So we have a whole series. We did that basically for 7 weeks essentially. So we really got in depth with it on that one, how to connect the chakras, how to purify the chakras in terms of whatever issues you have in there and how to calibrate it. So for sponsors, they had all those goodies. And for sponsors also, we did do quite a few homas for a bit. So we did, there are recordings of some Ganesh rituals that Andrieh was leading, and people were getting hardcore results on that. And we also were doing quite a few things like he also had a workshop on how to do mantras with malas and things as such. So with that, this is where all those things are available for sponsors when they want to check that out. And Kooch is back with us. So hello, internet died on us, so it's all right. Tech. We may have to talk to Ganesh about this.
I know. Ganesh, please remove obstacles. Please. I've been jumping hurdles to get here. Please just let this make Zach smile instead of wanting to get out a sword and cut off her head. Like
nothing Kali. Like that. Ain't no. Well, Kali or K2. We'll talk about the K2 conversation later, right?
Oh.
So, as you're talking about, I was just kind of doing a summary of what the chakras were before you disconnected from what you were saying. So, if you want to continue, you were right on the chakra piece about discussing things such as, base nature, working to the spiritual points, and then you're saying there are 7 chakras. So, if you could please continue from that point, love to listen. And
maybe the universe wanted me to not talk so much and just give a really brief summary, which you did. There's 7 chakras and they're aligned on the spine. They're not attached physically. Chakra means wheel, and they're energy centers that spin really, really fast and create a vibration and a sound. And people who are working on themselves or trying to develop more of an inward practice can use the chakras to climb the ladder to higher consciousness, which is also right in line with what Harish did with the game of Leela. So it gives you an actual very organized, systematic way of working on yourself and checking in with what's going on with you, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. They're an amazing resource for self-discovery, self-exploration, becoming more aligned with your higher purpose.
Right. So in your experience, be it personal or when you're working with people, do you find that there's certain chakras that people have trouble with that are pretty common?
People are usually vibing. Especially if I do readings, because I do chakra readings, and usually there's one dominant chakra, maybe 2 that are more dominant than the other 7. And some people say there's 9 chakras, and some people say there's 19 chakras or 18.
Well, no one really agrees on how many chakras. So, I mean, it depends on your tradition at that point. but seven's a
Yeah,
good
and
base
it's
to
a
work
lot of the
with.
new. It's the Westerners taking the traditional system and then elaborating on it because of the star seeds and the indigo children and becoming more aligned with there's these other centers that are connecting us with alternative realities or the fifth dimension. So, but everybody has information, and as long as you can gain something from the information and it makes you more awake or more tuned into how to take better care of yourself, hallelujah. But our teacher used the system, the traditional system that was handed down for thousands of years in cave discussions in the Himalayas. So I pretty much stick with that. But between the sixth chakra and the seventh chakra, he said there were two other chakras that you have to kind of like stimulate to try to help work through to be able to move and go through the crown chakra.
Right.
So he actually included 9 chakras in his book. Harish Johari had a book on it. This is like a Bible for people that are interested in chakras. And this was by our teacher, Harish Johari. I don't know how to hold these up right on the screen.
That's all right.
See, his name is on the bottom, Harish Johari. And there it is, the chakras. And it's his books are a lifelong study, and truly working on yourself is a lifelong study. So the chakras give you a way to work on yourself and study what's going on and how to become more free, how to become more liberated, and work on things like being really stressed out about being late to podcasts and things like that.
So
me get stressed. Oh no, that would be my, let me see, that would be my third chakra going.
Right. So given where people are with the readings that you do and such, are there any particular common ones you find, or is it more individually based?
Our teacher, Harish, said that the majority of people are working on their first 3 chakras. First chakra being, here I am, who am I? What's my purpose? How do I survive? It's the survival chakra. But a lot of people, they don't even know how to deal with the second chakra. But I'd say like probably 89% of the readings, people are in their second chakra, which is their intimate relationships, sexual connections, their desire for entertainment. They want to have more fun. They want to get stoned so that they can have alternate realities, party time. Right. The second chakra is all about water. It's the water element, and it's like floating on the ocean of emotions. And that's where the majority of us are floating on the ocean of our emotions. And that's the second chakra. So many people are there. It's different from the heart chakra, which is the 4th chakra. Yes, I know I skipped the 3rd. But the heart chakra and the second chakra work kind of as a balance for one another. Because if you can open your heart chakra, then you become more centered in your emotions instead of like riding the waves of the second chakra. So I always try to help people work with their 4th and their 2nd together. So I'd say there's a lot of people that want to open their heart. They want to be forgiving, or they want to forgive others. And so that they're not hung up on past relationships, but then that's the second chakra conversation. So right. 4th chakra, opening the heart to compassion, unconditional love, nurturing love, spiritual love. 4th chakra is kind of like the ideal that people are trying to get to, but the second chakra is kind of mostly where we are. Like we all like to go to the beach and hang out at the let the waves come in and get wet and jump in and deal with the critters in the ocean and not get too freaked out. So yes, people get probably most hung up in the first 3 chakras, the 3rd one being power center. And it's our competitive nature, our assertiveness, our aggressiveness, our inner warrior is the 3rd chakra. If you're a soldier, you're like really like knocking into that 3rd chakra, pumping your physical body to be really strong and dominant. And if you think how many people are either soldiers or trying to become more authoritarian, or trying to be the top dog in their business. That's all third chakra. So
Right.
that's where so many people are. If they're not hung up on, does he love me? Will I have more? Will I have another relationship? I don't want to be alone, which is the second chakra.
Right.
But if you tell people, if you can just try to like go into the fourth chakra and become love, or try to like feel love within yourself, then you don't have to worry about if you're going to be alone, because people are going to be coming to you because you're a source of love. So I try to tell people, try to tune into your fourth chakra more and not worry about the issues going on that you have to work through or forget or forgive or whatever a person needs in the moment that's going to hopefully be most helpful and most healing. And when people start working on chakras, which is a vote for working with chakras, then they start like noticing that there's these other centers and what happens with them. For people that are wanting to open up intuitively, people think it's this chakra, the sixth chakra, the third eye, but it's actually fifth chakra, because it's like if you hear things, clairaudience or sentience, feeling, or smelling, all of these senses are actually fifth chakra. So a lot of our psychic stuff is connected with the fifth chakra, especially if it's in the world. When you start trying to be psychic about, let's communicate with God, then it becomes the psychic energy in the sixth chakra becomes more. But
well, right, because
so to answer your question,
because past the third chakra, you're getting past the material world. When you get into heart chakra, that's a little bit more of a 50-50. So, I mean, yes, being throat, that would be
that's the center between
connected.
the lower centers and the higher centers.
Right.
And it's a great, when you can work with like trying to climb a ladder and seeing through your heart to balance what you're feeling in your second chakra, it really helps heal the second chakra. So, love is the answer. My other teacher, Sri Mata Amritananda Mayima, she's all about love and love being the answer. And she knows or has given a lot of talks about the chakras emitting light and energy. It's kind of like our foundation of what we're sending out into the world comes through these vibrational matrices.
Right. So then let's get into one piece in the book about the Tratak type of meditations and focus. So one, it's pretty elaborate, because what y'all did was reference this first, then get back into your chakras, but keep referencing this. Why is that so important with the focus and the chakras?
Because when we're working on our chakras, it's not an outward, we're outward right now talking about them, but your real work with chakras, it's not external, it's internal. So to be able to tratak, or focusing on one pointed focus, and using a candle, which is a traditional meditation, concentration, meditation focus. It's trying to help you to train your mind, to discipline your mind to be one pointed, and trying to get answers when you're within, trying to find ways to communicate with your higher self. It's all inward. And the more you align with your inner silence or become one pointed, so that you can feel the vibrations of your chakras, because there's a feeling that goes with them. It's not just like, oh, they're in your mind. There's actual like a vibrational, when you feel your heart opening, it's not just something you're telling yourself, like there's a feeling. Or if you feel your gut contracting with anxiety, these are feelings. So meditation and one pointedness, it's a discipline to try to become more able to feel what's going on within yourself, and be able to listen to your silence. Because when you're silent within, that's what Tratak is. One of the things that I understand anyway is that, you're trying to learn to silence your mind to become more one-pointed, which helps you with any kind of a meditation practice. And chakras being an internal work, ultimately they become a meditation practice, as well as like, oh, I'm going to try to discover if I'm going to find a lover again in the next year, which when doing chakra readings, it's really about just day-to-day living. It's not about, am I going to find God in the next month? Or, is God going to come out of the clouds? And am I going to witness the energy field of the Divine Mother? It's like, no, it's a lot of just down dirty, like, I've been making mad passionate love with this guy, and now, I'm finding out that he doesn't love me anymore. And I'm like, so there's a real down to earth, grounded reality, stuck in the world stuff that goes on when you're working on your chakras. And the Tratak is a way of trying to help you become more centered and quiet, so you can really hear like what's behind all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Because once you're able to focus, you're able to differentiate the pieces from the negatives and the positives, which I found quite nice, because most people only talk about the positive aspects of the chakras, but they don't talk about the negative ones. Right? So this is where, so that's where, could you give the listeners this example of what a negative and positive piece were, and why you'd actually want to be neutral and understanding that within your chakra development?
Well, you bring to mind with that question, like the path of moderation and inward balance, because we're yin yang, positive, negative, acid, alkaline, sweet, sour. We have pleasure, we have pain. There's always these dualities, and like finding the middle path, it kind of helps see both sides. And there's always, especially when you're working on your chakras, if you're coming off of let's say a 7-year marriage, because 7 is like a really popular year, and that's actually a Saturn square Saturn spot. When you start a relationship 7 years later, you're doing a Saturn square Saturn, which means you're going through some rough stuff. So many people break up at 7 years, or after 14 years, or after 20 years, because after doing thousands and thousands of readings, those numbers, I'm like, oh, it's another 7-year breakup. Oh, it's another 14-year breakup. Oh, it's another 21-year breakup, because those are Saturn squaring Saturn. So when you're dealing with stuff like this inwardly, you're looking at the negative. It's like the painful kicking the butt kind of stuff. Kicking the butt, meaning, who am I? Because I've been identifying with this other person all the time. I don't know who I am anymore. This is like really painful, and a lot of emotional vomit comes up. So, you talk about what's like the negative. Give me a scenario of someone who's gone through a negative experience, and I'll try to point out the negative of what chakra you're talking about. How does that make you feel? I'm going to turn the tables and ask you a question.
So, generally when I'm working with clients, I generally find root chakra issues quite a bit with them, right? So let's just use that as an example. So what would be a positive?
Can you give me a specific?
Generally, confidentiality. I could give you generalities, but I can't give you specifics on them, right? So this is where I'd say generally, I find most people aren't grounded, and they're not really that comfortable with their material life aspects. So that in itself is a positive and a negative, right?
Well, the negative is that they don't feel grounded, and they don't have the tools, or they're not using tools to help themselves become more grounded. So that would be definitely like the negative aspect of how they're taking care of themselves. And also it shows the side of the first chakra where people are grasping. They don't have answers. They're not grounded. And then the other side of that polarity would be that a person fine tunes their understanding of how to become more grounded. They're taking better care of themselves, taking better care of health issues, or, the first chakra is wrapped around our anal process and releasing the shit, literally, but also figuratively. So, you have to look at like the first chakra, what do they need to release, and trying to help people release the stuff that's stopping them from being grounded. So when a person starts becoming more aware of the tools they need to like release and let go, then they're starting to move towards the positive aspect of that, of their issues, and finding how to be more strong within their sense of self and take better care of themselves, their survival mechanisms, which is the positive aspect.
Right. So this is where I know in the book for listeners, they go through this pretty elaborately where they go on both sides of it. So you're able to pick your traits and be like, oh, here and oh, here. So nice little table for people that like the organization side of things. I definitely appreciate where I had the back and forth where I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I just see it in chart form there. So it's easy to look it up in the book.
Because Victor, my champion partner, has not only information about the 7 chakras, but he created this the polarity charts for each of the chakras, which showed the positive, the strong aspects of them, and the negative. And then it's not just one or the other. There's like this continuum, kind of like a sliding scale, where it's not just like you're one or the other, but there's like a continual process of going from like low to being higher, or more. Go back to the confidence of yourself, going from feeling insecure and weak, not knowing who you are, to moving towards feeling better, feeling stronger, feeling more in tune with your sense of self. So there's a continual evolution. It's not just jumping from one polarity to the other. So, yeah. What does he call them? I'm like spacing polarity.
Yeah, I mean,
well, anyway, it's
polarity.
It's in the book. I'm pointing out the book. We've got like the positives and negatives for all the chakras, and kind of like the evolution that people go through.
Right. So, if possible, can you share a transformative experience while working through your chakras?
Oh, you have all these surprise questions. Are you talking about me, myself, and I? And you want me to reveal something really personal?
It is you. It's your call. How you like to answer that? We generally like to, have the authors talk about their experiences, because those experiences go into the book. So what led into the book, type of thing.
Well, okay, this is revealing. Maybe people will just not listen to this part. They'll turn out. They'll be busy trying to like get some hugs and kisses from a friend, and they won't hear this. But I think most revealing is thinking that, I'm working on all these books and I have some sense about myself, where I'm doing so well, like I'm getting a little like, I'm so, I got all I'm getting answers. I'm giving other people answers. I must be getting smarter, and then or wiser, not smarter, but maybe using my mind better, whatever it is. And then, so that would be like thinking my third eye is opening. I'm trying to tune into like my psychic abilities and all that stuff. And then meeting with a spiritual teacher, and the spiritual teacher taps into that sense of how special I am, or whatever that is, that energy, ego, grandeur, and just knocks the living daylights out of me, so that I can just really see my inner shadows and how deep in the shit I really am walking. There's a lot of stuff that's really complex inwardly that we just totally ignore. And I think that's why when you can work with other people, sometimes gently and with the right way of talking about stuff, they can help you work through some of that stuff that you don't want to look at, which is like a release, and helps you have a better sense of what work you really need to do, instead of candy coating everything. So there's an example of like, if it was fifth chakra work that I was doing. So I'm totally into like the fifth chakra and opening up my hearing, my sense of hearing, and my psychic senses that are here, in relation to like communicating, because this is communication, and I'm working as a reader, so I'm communicating psychically. This is fifth chakra, even though I'm wanting to open up my sixth chakra and say, oh, it's sixth chakra, but that's like go into your inner temple and light a candle and pray and hope that that triangle with the eternal flame, that I can see that kind of light within myself. But here I am, you know, like I'm working so much on all this stuff, and I'm like doing all this work for other people, and I'm really cool, spending my life doing this stuff, and also going, oh, well, you know, I've got to like look at, am I being competitive with other people? Whack. No, I got to get rid of the third chakra shit. Oh, how's my open chakra? Oh, I want to be open hearted. I want to open my fourth chakra. And, you know, going on and on, because they're all working. All the chakras are working all the time. It's not just one,
but
absolutely. The dominant one, fifth chakra. And so my teacher just came in and showed me the shit that I'm really in, you know, just not to. So I had to spend a lot of time digging through the shit that I wasn't looking at, and realizing that I'm really just really scratching the surface. Even though I'm thinking I'm teaching and I can heal and I can help, I'm just scratching the surface with my own spiritual development. I'm just like trying to crawl up the ladder, but can be really knocked down by a master who sees how much stuff is accumulated that I've attached my sense of self to, that has no relationship with awakening or enlightenment. You know, it's attachment to the world and attachment to desires. And
right.
Chakras are a spiritual ladder. It's not a worldly ladder. That's why people, when they start working on the chakras, they're working on their sense of, how do I evolve? How do I open up? How do I become more illuminated, in touch with the light, or God, or whatever you want to call it, the cosmic consciousness. So, you know, I've had to experience the raw truth of what was really inside through a very cosmic conscious teacher who showed me the truth of what was in my fifth chakra. I was devastated. So there, personal information. You can think you're...
Chop wood, carry water, everyone. That's how it rolls. You've heard our stories, so you know how it is, but chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. We can think our shit doesn't stink, but, you know, somebody comes into the room and they'll tell you the truth. Telling it, you know, putting it on the base first chakra level, you know, cleaning the vibrations, cleaning the energy, really working on yourself. It's a lifelong process. It just doesn't happen overnight. And there's so much that we don't want to believe about ourselves. That shadow that people talk about, the shadow work and the shadow, it's bigger than we know, because we don't want to look at that. We don't want to entertain those ideas. We want to think that, you know, we're groovy, we're getting more enlightened, we're on the great path, if we're doing chakras or we're doing kung fu or whatever, you know. We want to be like, you know, I'm doing yoga, I'm really evolving. It's not that easy. It is
not.
There's such a commitment that you have to give.
So for beginners then, what would you recommend for them to do after this show? I mean, aside from purchasing your book, which we won't pimp out.
Oh, well, if that's a really good question, and I'm trying to really look at what do I tell people if they're just. I think the most important thing, if you're really wanting to work on chakras, is take one chakra, and if you're just beginning, start with maybe your first chakra. And, you know, if you're in a hurry, spend a week with it. If you have more patience and you're really trying to dive into what's the truth behind it, take a month and do nothing but work on one chakra. Or if you're feeling like, you know, you're going through this second chakra misery and you're trying to figure out how to be more balanced in your second chakra, then start with your second chakra. If you're wanting to open your communication center and be more vocal, then, you know, whatever chakra is important. But you want to do all 7 of them so that you can have a whole sense, because each one connects with a different aspect of your entire being. So if you can start with the first chakra and just spend time meditating on it or reading about it, and do a consistent daily practice for a week. After 7 days of doing that, you're going to have a much stronger sense of, who am I? What is this chakra energy? You know, how do I take better care of my ability to release things, because that's center for releasing it. And like, so just getting to know, what is the first chakra? What does it mean? How am I experiencing it within myself? And trying to meditate where you actually feel it. And maybe like constricting the lower part of your bottom, and like trying to feel the tensions that's there, or trying to imagine that you're waking up the kundalini that's a coiled snake living at the base of your spine. It's like really work on getting to know one chakra and really connecting with it within yourself. And that method of meditating and contemplating and doing exercises in that part of your body will really help you learn more about yourself. And after you know, if you take a 7-week trip or a 7-month trip doing nothing but chakra work, you're going to have a completely different understanding of yourself and how you hold your energy or your pain or your health, because there's so many answers in the hormones that are released through the chakras, through the energy that comes through them. They like secrete energy, which helps our glands secrete energy, which makes us feel different sensations in the body. So it's not work that you do with someone else. It's really your own work on yourself. I mean, obviously we can talk about them with other people, like I'm doing right now. Blah, 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 blah. You know, if other people want to listen or not, it's always up to them. So, but it's not about talking. It's about experiencing what's within you, and what kind of work do you need to be doing with yourself internally to help you become the best person you can be in the moment. And the best person can change between yesterday and tomorrow. But feeling chakras is in the now and what you're experiencing right now. And that's why if you just really pay attention right now and try to feel them, hear them, imagine what's going on in them, so that you have like an intimate relationship with each one.
So great end cap there. So Kooch, do you have anything coming up, like new books, workshops, anything like that coming?
Yeah, all of those things. But you know, I'm not going to share that stuff right now, because it's just like, you know, it's just things that are going to be unveiled and are becoming unveiled, and I don't want to like it's a long story, but yes, the answer is yes. But do I want to talk about them? Not yet. But trust me, I've got some great things coming up.
So for everyone listening on that, you'll have her link anyway, so you can check her website afterward. What we're discussing today was the Awakening the Chakras 7 Energy Centers in Daily Life. That's in our public library, so if you like to peruse and drop by, we got it here. And if you hang out with that book too long, we're going to say bye from her and her partner directly, because we support the authors here at our public library. So with that,
and I want to thank Peter and Victor.
Absolutely.
My co-authors, I want to thank them so much. So just shout out to those guys. Thank you.
So for tomorrow, we have our shamanic feng shui workshop introduction. And then from that point on, we are going to possibly have one more secret show. That's still in discussion for that secret show. And then we go straight into the Goetia for the sponsors. So with that, it's literally a 3-year commitment we're doing on both sides, where it'd be the Semaphorish or the Goetia. It's both Saturdays, 6 p.m. Again, we'll get that sorted and posted up soon enough when we start beginning that working, but it's happening. If you're in Toronto, make sure to bring a black robe for that because we're going to do it properly. 607 Gerrard Street East, 401. Thank you, Kooch, for coming on, and just stay on a few minutes after. Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good night.